topic is no peace with the Jews.
This is Sheikh Faisal, the British Muslim cleric involved in one of this year's most extraordinary court cases.
The Jews are deceitful by nature.
Accused of preaching race hate from a North London mosque, Faisal had called for a holy struggle, a jihad, against Jews, Hindus and Americans.
And how do you fight Jews? You kill the Jews. The Jews can't afford to die because they have only 3 million in Israel, occupied Palestine.
Tapes like these led to the unprecedented charge of soliciting murder along with incitement to racial hatred. A law intended to protect minorities applied for the first time not to a neo-Nazi group, but to a Muslim cleric trained in Saudi Arabia. The Sheikh's defence was based on the Quran. Surah 2, verse 190, commands the faithful to fight those who fight against you, a plea of self-defence.
The topic, no peace with the Jews, it's a topic which every Muslim will have to believe in, that there won't be any peace in the Middle East. You cannot be a Muslim and contradict the Prophet Muhammad.
As he travelled to the Old Bailey, his wife Zubaydah by his side, Faisal hoped the jury would accept his argument that he had merely been calling for Muslims to resist the Israeli aggressor in Palestine.
I never dreamed that one day the tapes would be played in the Old Bailey and the jury would decide, is he a cleric or a criminal?
Those who hate Muslims most will be the Jews. So if they hate you, why do you want to love them? You have no choice but to hate them.
In the view of his supporters gathered outside the court, the Sheikh had simply reiterated the words of God as given to the Prophet in the Quran. And when the court sentenced Faisal to 9 years in jail for soliciting murder, their anger was apparent.
The Quran is on trial. The Hadith is on trial. Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam stands convicted today from preaching from the Quran.
The Sheikh was condemned by most British Muslim leaders, but the arguments outside the court still suggested something worrying, that some Muslims were choosing to read anti-Semitism into the Quran.
Despite what you want to do, what you want to say, despite what you put on the TV, Islam is the world's fastest growing religion.
But was Faisal's quarrel with all Jews or just with those in Israel? With the Sheikh now in Belmarsh jail awaiting an appeal, I talked to his wife Zubaydah about his seemingly bizarre tapes.
It's a Muslim-Israeli conflict, and it is compulsory on you to wage jihad to liberate it from the hands of the filthy Jews.
Why did your husband, in his sermon, refer so often to the filthy Jew?
I think that's to do with the backdrop of Palestine, okay? Because if you see that how Palestinians for 50 years have been persecuted every day, I mean, even the British people in this country would feel that way if the Romans came over and claimed Britain as their land. So it's injustice towards the Palestinians. It's their land, and Jews have taken it over using the Bible, the Torah.
But he uses this expression all the time, and given the context of the sermon which we've just been talking about, which is what the words of the prophet are, he's not talking just about Palestine, he's talking about Jews almost over an eternity, and he describes them as the filthy Jew. They would have been filthy before 1948 and the establishment of Israel.
No, that's not how it is.
They've only just become filthy.
No, it's talking about the belief system, okay? If you read what the Talmud says they can rape 3-year-old girls of the...
It doesn't.
It does say that.
It doesn't say that.
Have you read the Talmud?
I know it doesn't say that.
Oh, you haven't read it?
No. What it says is that 3-year-old girls who are raped cannot be considered to have consented and to have therefore not to be virgins anymore. That's what it says.
I have a documentary saying the other side of Israel. In it gives you references, which rabbi said in which part of the Talmud.
And large sections of these, because I've had them looked up, are actually just fabrications.
Well,
they're not true, and some of these books which are quoted don't exist. Some of the teachers that are supposed to don't exist either.
I don't believe you, because why would they produce such a documentary quoting these statements? And also we have consulted the people who have done PhD in this.
What kind of people would those be?
These are the scholars.
Where?
They're not Muslims. Maybe you should go and ask the Jews themselves. There are so many in Golders Green.
Who owns the son? Rupert Murdoch. Who is he? A Jew from where? Australia.
In what way are Jews behind the media? One of the things that your husband does is claim that Rupert Murdoch is a Jew, but he's not.
Well, he is, because isn't that man Robert Maxwell his father?
No.
Oh, well, he thought he was.
No, he's got nothing to do with him. They're not related at all, and Rupert Murdoch is not in any way Jewish.
Is it?
Murdoch's a Scottish name, and at some point or other they went to Australia.
I see.
I think.
But I thought he was an Australian Jew.
No.
Okay.
But doesn't that kind of illustrate a problem, which is you say that the media is controlled by the Jews, and you make people who aren't Jews Jewish in order to prove the case?
But sometimes the Jews, they hide their identity. That's what the Zionists do. Sometimes they hide their identity, and only when they're dead, and then they have the funeral, you'll see he's a Jew. Wherever they go in any country, they try to take it over and try to morally just subvert the culture of that country.
Whichever country the Jews go to, they try and subvert it.
The Zionists.
The Zionists.
That's right.
It was hard not to be amazed by the words of Zubaydah, but the scary thing was her invocation of the Quran in support of her husband's views. If the Allah of the Quran was a Jew-hater, then no good Muslim could be anything else.
This is pretty tough on non-Muslims in some ways. Believers take neither the Jews nor the Christians for your friends. The idea is that the Jews and the Christians have both refused to see the final revelation to the Prophet Muhammad, and then God gets angry with them and says, "Shall I tell you who will receive a worse reward from God?" says Muhammad, "those whom God has cursed and with whom he has been angry, transforming them into apes and swine." But you just turn over a page, and then all of a sudden the tone softens, and the good people, good Christians, good Jews, believers, Jews, Sabaeans, whatever they are, and Christians, whoever believes in God and the last day and does what's right, shall have nothing to fear or to regret. So you can see how if you're a soft, kind-hearted imam, you can find things in there to say, no, these people are not all our enemies and we can live with them. And you can see how on a certain interpretation, some other imam can say, no, these people are our implacable enemies and we must confront them.
It seems that some Muslims are choosing to focus on the Quran's occasional diatribe against the Jews. But is this just junk religion, or is it accepted by serious Muslim scholars?